Christianity teaches that Christ was crucified. Islam teaches Christ was not crucified. Here we have two factual statements, two statements claiming to be fact about the person of Jesus. Now, when two people make a claim that are in opposition to one another, the thing that you do is you look for other kinds of evidence and you look at the quality of evidence to see who's telling the truth. And what do historians do? They look for multiple early independent sources about the issue. So let's do that about Jesus Christ and the crucifixion. And because this has real significance, if Christ was crucified, Islam is false. If Christ was not crucified, Christianity is false. So we have a touchstone issue that proves my religion wrong or your religion wrong. Now, when we look into the event of the crucifixion, the earliest independent sources that we have of both Christian and non-Christian writings all agree that Christ was crucified. Bart Ehrman, who's an apostate from Christianity, a critic of Christianity, and a textual scholar of the Bible, states this: if we cannot know that Christ was crucified, we can't know anything about history at all. Christ's death on the cross is the most certain fact of anyone in history. So how would you reply to that? Just ignore the guy. Just ignore the guy. Yeah.
So the idea of like the academic basis, the historic basis.
They did not kill him.
Shall we move this way so those two can argue? Come on, move this way. If you want to listen to us, carry on. Go on.
So I think the Muslim perspective on the crucifixion is that perhaps a crucifixion happened, but it wasn't Jesus. That's the claim that Muslims make.
Yes.
That's the claim in the Quran.
Yes.
Okay, it's not the idea that there's no such thing as crucifixions, it never happened. If there was any sources about it, it's all corruption. That doesn't matter. That just comes down to like a faith-based argument.
Right.
It's like what I believe, what
Yes.
you believe.
Yes.
Right? So it doesn't really matter. The criteria, how do we go through to understand if something is truth? You said, look for the early sources, we look for multiple sources.
An independent source.
An independent source. For your basis on faith, for Jesus, 30 years after his time, you go for diverse opinions, consensus. You admit that it went through process of elimination.
Tell me when you want me to reply.
No, you can go.
Okay, because the thing is, if you're saying that Allah deceived everyone into thinking that someone was crucified who was what? No, you have said, and the Quran states, what the Quran states is that the Jews claim that they have crucified the Messiah Jesus, but verily they have not. It was made to appear to them. Who made it to appear to them? Allah. So if Allah deceives the people into thinking that Christ was crucified and allowed that lie to be spread around the world for 600 years before he decides to correct it, then your God, let me finish, the reality is if Allah deceives people for 600 years, then that means that he is an established deceiver, an established liar.
Yes.
And in your own hadiths, you wouldn't trust someone in the chain of hadiths who was a liar, so you wouldn't trust Allah if he was in the chain of an hadith about Muhammad. You would see the name Allah in the hadith chain and you would go, well, we can't trust this hadith. It's da'if. Why is it da'if? Because Allah is a known liar. Now, if Allah is a liar, how do you know he's not lying to you about what he said about Muhammad?
You literally apply that argument to literally everything you say.
Go on then, do it.
You
Do it.
literally just said, if Allah did this, therefore it was a deception. And how could
What
your
else
Allah,
would you call it?
How could your Allah?
What
allow
else
such
would
a
you
thing?
call it?
Listen.
What else would you call it?
What else would I call it?
What would you call it?
God's will.
God's will. What happened? Describe what happened to people. What did people see on the cross according to the Islamic perspective?
From the Islamic perspective, the true believers knew it wasn't.
No. What did the people who saw that man on the cross that they thought was Jesus, what did they see?
They saw a crucifixion.
Of who? From their perspective.
The people who wanted to see Jesus crucified.
What did they see?
They saw Jesus crucified.
And was it Jesus on the cross?
No.
Was
according to Islam.
so? In other words, they saw something that wasn't true. Is that correct?
If God willed for certain people to see that, then yeah. 'Cause there's
Yes,
people who-
yes, it is
who-
correct.
'cause people,
What do you
there are
call
people-
it?
People who wanted to see.
If I tricked you into believing something to be true that wasn't true, what would you call me? A liar. He said he would call me a liar. Furthermore, the analogy is false because why? According to the Quran, Allah the magician made it look like Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross. In other words, he planted a deception in the eyes of the observers and then allowed people to run with that belief for 600 years.
For no reason.
For no reason. People died because of that belief.
An army of martyrs.
People shed blood because of that belief. People built civilizations because of that belief. And then 600 years later, Allah went, surprise! I didn't really mean that. I just made it look that way. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a lie. No, ladies and gentlemen, Muslims believe that a liar can't be trusted in a chain of hadiths.
I wouldn't trust you in words.
There you go. They don't trust liars. So if you stuck Allah in a chain of hadiths, according to the hadith sciences, you couldn't trust a hadith from Allah himself.
Amen.
Jesus Christ was crucified.
Praise
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were all written independently of one another.
Yeah, but what
Paul's writings were written independent of one another, and they all taught Christ crucified.
Amen.
Josephus taught Christ crucified. Tacitus taught Christ crucified. The church fathers taught Christ crucified. So we have early, independent witnesses to the crucifixion of Christ. And the Muslims have a book written 600 years later by a man that was no witness to any events, who admits that his God was a liar. And my question to this Muslim is, if Allah lied to the Jews at the time of Jesus, how do you know he's not lying to Muslims today? That's my question.
I'm sorry, you're done preaching.
You seem upset.
Yeah,
You seem upset. You seem upset, Mohammed.